Welcome to another episode of Twist of Fate, a small business podcast for entrepreneurs, small business owners, and individuals looking to start a business and change their life. So today I'm really excited to invite our guest, Tanisha, who is the founder and CEO of Craniums Learning Center. And she's also a very special friend and family member for me. So Tanisha, welcome to Twist of Fate.
Hey, y'all, how is it?
You know, we go back, right? So I see that mug that you have there, Case Western. So why don't you tell everybody like how we met and a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, gosh. So it's really funny because if you look over probably the last 3 decades of our life, we have always had the same group of friends and people because we grew up literally 5 miles away from each other.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep. And that's in Cleveland, Ohio. That's in Cleveland.
Yes,
Ohio.
in Cleveland. And pretty much same backgrounds, very similar kind of families. And then you started dating one of my really good friends in college, Nikki. And I met you. And as everybody knows, I was a workaholic even then. And I just always remember, you know, just this closeness and this fondness and having such a great relationship with you guys. And over the last literally 2+ decades, our friendship and everything has just grown. It's been wonderful. It's been remarkable. So yeah.
The feeling is mutual for sure. Tell me a little bit about the last 20 years for you. It was a journey, right?
I definitely started off at Case as a pre-medical student like so many people, and then decided at the ripe old age of 19 to get married. So I started a family, and so that totally changed my path. And I ended up going into psych and loving it and working with children and then working internationally, being able to do a lot of research as well as.
Was that still while you were in Cleveland, or you had?
Yes, that's while I was still in Cleveland.
Okay, yeah.
And so my journey through Cleveland, where I was born and raised, fully educated, which was amazing. And I look back on that time and, you know, I'm really grateful for having had that experience.
You did your master's now too, right?
Yep. I did my master's at Case as well. And then I started to do my secondary master's and my PhD at a place called Rijksuniversiteit Groningen in Northern Netherlands. And then got to this point where I was like, oh God, I owe so much to Sally Mae and I cannot keep paying all these student loans, right?
That's a motivator. Student loan debt is a motivator.
Crap. So I leave Rijks and I end up going into the military. And I started off initially wanting to be an officer and ended up in missile defense of all places. Still maintaining my license as a therapist. Still doing a lot of adjunct work and writing. And I had previously worked at University Hospitals of Cleveland. I had been a practice partner as well at a place called Marbury and Associates.
Before you move to that, I just want to, acknowledge the fact that you as a military veteran business owner are a special person. All of this community listening to this podcast, including myself, like, thank you for your service, but also acknowledge like you're an employer, you've serviced our country, and now you're servicing the community. So like, yes, mad props to you for that. And also big shout out to the San Diego Gulls. You were a recipient of the Veteran Business Owner of the Game Award back in October. So like, yes. I mean, again,
that was so exciting. That was fun. That entire organization is amazing. They were great to us. That was such an honor. And it was a lot of fun. Like I really had a great time and got to meet a lot of cool people. And definitely the Gulls their entire organization is hands down, like they're amazing.
I agree. And I don't know if you saw, did you see in the video that I actually was skating? Did you see that?
Yes. I did see you skating. I thought you were going to fall, but
listen, here's the secret about skating. Here's the secret, right?
Hey, I used to play hockey, so I'm all about it. I was just like, Doug,
but I don't skate.
But skating is just like amazing. I'm putting it out there.
Listen,
I
I'm
never
not
thought I'd
amazing
see
at
that.
skating. I'm not amazing, but the secret that I learned is, if you fall down, you get up. It's
You
that
do.
simple. It's
You
that
do.
simple. So, once you get that down, yeah, I did okay.
Hey,
But
for
no,
little
I
kids,
agree.
we have those little push things, just so you know. These little things they hold on to and they push around the thing until they get really good.
I was offered many aids, yes. But okay. So then after your military service,
Yes.
you then and you left out one thing. You actually have been a real estate engaged individual for a while now. Like you were a homeowner for a little while, right?
So I purchased my first home when I was like 21. So I started rehabbing homes. And I bought my first house in Ohio City, which of course is historical, on a historical street, on the street where Heisman grew up, actually. So 64th and, Bridge Street. So I purchased my first home, rehabbed it, sold it. And then as I've progressed through life, I have purchased multiple homes.
Yeah.
Rented them out and either sold them or kept them. And but even prior to that, going into pharmaceuticals, so that's literally what I did right after I left the military. I went into pharmaceuticals, and that really gave me kind of that leg up on what business acumen really looked like. I'd been a clinician for a while, but being a clinician versus running a business and creating like a business environment and business acumen is completely different. And what that entire—
How was that as a transition? Was that a tough transition?
It wasn't. It wasn't because, my entire life I've been working and servicing high risk communities, and everything from alcohol and drug to drug recidivism to servicing prostitutes and HIV and doing the needle exchange programs in Ohio. Like it really wasn't. So working with patients and clients and doctors, that's what I do. And that's what I did even as a clinician every single day. So those interactions were quite normal, but it was that working for probably one of the best pharmaceutical companies, in my opinion, Novo Nordisk, was just game changing. Like it really showed me what a work environment should feel like. And I had a really strong a female boss, and I went on to also become one of the top specialty reps for that organization. But it's an amazing organization. They do great things. And so many things I learned from there, and just the dynamics of how you want your employees to feel were so many things that I myself brought into my own company going forward.
So let me recap. So if I were to recap, you started undergrad. From a life standpoint, got married.
Moved out of my house, by the way, when I was 17. So you got to remember that too.
Correct. So
and paid for it and put myself through school entirely on my own.
All by yourself, correct.
Yep.
Started real estate, went to did military service.
Yes, but I was a clinician that entire time. Don't forget.
And a clinician,
career,
correct. Actually, and a clinician.
Traveling all over the world.
And then
sometimes being shot at.
Correct. And shooting Patriot missile batteries.
Yes.
If I'm correct. Yep.
Yep.
And then you went
into pharma. Yes.
And what I give you a lot of props for passive income. So a lot of you out there, like what you can see here is the path to entrepreneurism. Like it's not a race. Every journey is different.
It's a marathon.
All these things I can say have built up a lot of special skills for you to go and do your own thing. So now let's jump to that. So
it's what we always call mailbox. We call it the mailbox money. It's what they call it, where you got to have something going forward so that when you retire, because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, you take so many risks. Like I tell people all the time, I said, I can tell you how to save $200,000. And I can also tell you in 1 year how to spend that entire $200,000 plus take out $30,000 of loans to have a company.
I'll tell you, I think that is one of the most misunderstood concepts of entrepreneurism. I think a lot of people it's a sexy term to be a founder for a lot of people, but what they don't know
to be a CEO. No, that's the sexy term, not the founder part. It's I'm a CEO. That's the sexy part.
And people think of these big offices, which coincidentally, yes, I am
I have one too, but I built it myself with my commercial, because I now own my commercial real estate. So that's one of the other things too. One of the things when I started was I had fantastic female business owners in my small rural community who really promoted other females. And she rented me out a space for $1,200 a month, which I'm sure most starting off like entrepreneurs are like, oh my God, I hate you. Like, but for me, it was a godsend.
Yeah. Especially for people that have storefronts or big capital investments or big.
But I mean, my overall overhead when I started was probably about $1,800 a month, which is unheard of.
Sure.
But it had so much to do with being in a rural community and really being surrounded by extremely strong female entrepreneurs. And me going to her and saying, I can't have the job, even though I loved pharma and I loved working for Novo, I couldn't have the job anymore with the golden handcuffs. I needed to do something that I was a legacy for my family, something I could leave for them. And then finally, I found an acre of land with this.
So hold on. I want to go back to that. So you have this great job.
Yes.
And it's probably the first time in your life that now you're making real money, right?
I'm making we haven't brought that. Figures, man.
That's what I'm saying.
I got my 6 figure salary. Right. My taxes are literally somebody's like yearly salary.
Correct.
Yes.
So that was so you get to that point, but then there's something that motivated you to do exactly what you said, is to think about starting your own thing.
It was all about, number one, just kind of what happens in corporate America. Like there's so many bureaucratic, just things that happen and you're just like, I can't do this anymore. Plus, I'm a single mom. And so even though pharma is extremely flexible and it's amazing and my benefits are great, being a single mother who can be present all the time was not something that was readily available. And that is super important to me because I coach soccer and I'm super involved with my kids. And as you know, because you know my son all too well, there is a huge age gap between my two, and I now have, he's now going to be 17 and well, he just turned 17, I'm sorry. And my daughter Parker will be 9 in January. And so, I'm driving literally an hour every single day to go to work. And I'm just like, this isn't worth it. I mean, it's a 6-figure salary, but am I really happy?
Yeah.
Do I make a lot of money? Sure. But am I still under this bureaucracy of how much more can you make for me today?
Yeah.
And then there was also that thing where I am so used to servicing a community, being a pillar in the community where I am helping, changing, and being extremely innovative, especially with young adults, where I was no longer doing that. And so, yes, I'm earning this amazing living and I can give this great life to my children. And pharma was that stepping stone to really allow me to save the money that I needed to. But at the same time, it wasn't lighting that pilot in my belly.
So then you decide not only that you're going to start a business, but that you were going to focus on learning and teaching young people. So how did you make that leap?
So I had a partner at the time who was like, I really feel like you should kind of go back to what you know, and also just, like, hey, this would be a great idea. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then July 28th rolled around. See how you remember those days?
Yeah.
And I got on LegalZoom and I started my first LLC ever. Even when I was doing real estate, I'd never started.
Oh, really?
LLC.
It's just like a day came and you just said, I'm incorporating.
I said, screw it. I'm doing it. I'm going for it. Because there was so much crap going on with my job and like sexual harassment. Like it was a whole thing. And I was just done with it.
It had become a negative space in your life.
And I was just done with the red tape. Wonderful company. Like, never get me wrong.
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful company. Sure. But the red tape was just too much. And the constant of what more can you give me? And I'm like, I am making millions upon millions for a company that I am maybe seeing 1%, even if that.
Sure.
And I need something that's going to be fulfilling, something that I can also give back to my children. And on top of that, I looked at some of the other learning centers because I have these two incredibly high functioning children who have extremely high IQs, who I'm like, I feel like you need to do a little bit extra. I feel like that's the Indian in me. I feel like you need to do more. And it was so expensive and it was so far away from our home. So I wanted to be
They
able
were doing
to
like Kumon. Was it like after school you're saying like what type of learning centers?
It was going to be Sylvan, and it was still expensive for a child that all I wanted to do was just force him to do more work. And I'm like, we need something that's a little bit closer to home and something that has a completely different dynamic, that one-on-one, that tailoring to the specific needs. And so then so that was July 28th. And then I said, okay, October 1st, I'm going to open these doors. And on October 1st, I opened my doors. And within the very first year, we had grown substantially. And when I look back at it, that first year we were a little bit in the red because of me having to take out a loan and stuff like that. But
that's
every
normal.
year since
that's
then,
normal, right? Normal.
Every year since then, we've been in the black. And so in 2020 during COVID, so March 12th, I bought my very first commercial real estate. There was an old dental office.
Just to clarify, you said you were renting for the first year?
Yes.
Or maybe through the second year, or
through the second year.
Yeah, because you had to do the 2-year tax returns.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to seek to buy a building.
Yes. And finding that in our community was difficult. So finally, I find a dentist who has an acre of land on a building that he pretty much let go, just was completely dilapidated. And $55,000 later of money, I, along with other people in the community who I absolutely love and adore, we rehabbed this entire building that looked literally like it was abandoned and just garbage to something that now is amazing. Like you wouldn't even know it was the same building. And I bought that on March 12th, and he did an owner finance. I was so grateful. And my mortgage for the first year was $536 in that building. I bought it for like $110 and rehabbed it. And so then we fast forward, and I've done all this work to this building. And just this past summer, I was able to get my first actual bank-backed loan, which, doing that in 3 years. And that took me not paying myself literally. So when I tell that joke of, I can tell you how to get rid of $200,000, I can, and go be asset heavy and cash poor for the simple fact of, you literally don't pay yourself. Those are the sacrifices that you make as an entrepreneur, like at the front. You're not paying yourself. You're paying everybody else, but you're not paying you.
Yeah, I think that's a huge misunderstanding for employees, the communities. Entrepreneurs in a lot of ways give up and sacrifice so much.
We do. And the amount of time, so this is the first time ever. I remember when I first came to 3 Steps Forward, and one of the things that I really needed was time. I needed to breathe. And I remember vividly a conversation that Parker had with me, and she goes, hey, look, I need you to stop. We're sitting at dinner, because we always eat dinner together. We do high lows. And she says, I need you to stop. And I said, what do you mean I need you to stop? You need me to stop? And she goes, I need time with you. And I said, well, I'm giving you time. You're a room mom. I am there all the time. So that's the other dynamic too. So I'm an entrepreneur, single mom, who's still doing all this community stuff, plus super involved in my kids' school, plus coaching them. So my kids are used to this incredibly involved parent. Right. And she said, yeah, but it's just not the same. And I need you to stop. And I was like, oh crap. I'm spending so much time that I'm missing this. And then finally Kemper pipes in and he goes, it's the first time ever in my life you've missed 2 of my games. And I go, ooh. And that's tough. That's really tough as a parent, because you don't want to hear that. but the sacrifices, but it lends back to that idea of the amount of sacrifices that you make. And then you can't sit there and say to your kids, especially as a single mom, hey, we're not going to go on vacation anymore. Hey, your whole life's going to change. Hey, there are still all these other things that you're constantly balancing. And it's the not being in debt, then going back into debt, not being in debt, going back into debt. I mean, when I started this year, I had zero debt. Now I'm back into debt, but it's never the same amount of debt.
Yeah. And the banks look at you a total different way, right? Like back in your corporate days, look,
let's talk about buying a house.
Yeah.
Okay. So last year I sold my house in 9 days. Ask me how many days, how many months it took me from August 19th to actually move into my home. We did not move into the home that we are in now until December 8th. I got a complete rude awakening of what it means to be self-employed, trying to buy a home, even though I have more money on paper, right? Versus I have a W-4 and like your W-2 and you're happy with me.
Just to clarify for the listeners there, when you declare as self-employed, it requires you to have 2 years of tax returns, whether you're a sole prop, whether you're an LLC, whether you're an S Corp, whether you're a C Corp, you're going to have to show 2 years of, most businesses won't.
They hold, and here's the thing, they hold, if you have a bad year, they hold that against you.
Exactly.
And here I am with an 800 credit score, perfect credit. I have everything.
And now you can't buy anything.
It is so difficult for the first time ever in my life. I had never heard you gotta wait. So 2,000 documents later, I'm not even exaggerating because you have to show every single penny. 2,000 documents later, we finally get to move into our home.
Yeah.
But those are experiences that you never anticipate. You don't even know that they're coming. And it is all those things. It's just like when you start an LLC, you don't know that you need to become an S Corp. You don't know then that as an S Corp, then you have to make this much money every single year to then qualify as the S Corp, but still maintain your LLC. And then your employees are yelling at you about, I want to make $25 an hour, but you're only paying me $19. And I'm like, but in reality, I'm actually paying you the $25 an hour because I'm paying your Social Security and your unemployment. Those are all of these nuances and those conversations, those hard conversations, and then still trying to create this really positive work environment. And so finding and striking that balance, it is one of the things that I'm really grateful for, that where I talk about, my different experiences throughout my life, it truly did prepare me for this.
Absolutely.
And how to treat people as if they are equal as your employees versus treating them like they are less than you. They still know you're their boss. They still know that you sign their checks. However, employees will always work harder for you when you are a fair and decent human being who 100%. Is just not barking orders.
Yeah, shared vision. So to any of you listening, if you're still up for this, if you're still up for entrepreneurism, don't worry. Fun. It is fun. And I do want to ask you this. So for Craniums, why don't you tell everybody what you do and why I feel your employees definitely would sign up to work there, not just for the monetary gain, but for what you're trying to do for young people. Why don't you tell them more about Craniums?
So Craniums really incorporates that balance between educational deficits along with some of the mental health aspects. So one of the great strengths that my organization has is that you have a clinician that owns it. And being able to identify some of those things like ADHD or ADD or misdiagnosed ADHD, which is actually anxiety, and really comes in handy. I cannot tell you how many kids have walked through our doors ready to commit suicide and sad and just suffering from like severe depression. And me being able to sit there and relate because I've been doing that for so long and I love it. That passion, it shows. And just recently, we had a grandmother who goes, you saved and you transformed my grandson's life. Like, he wasn't going to graduate from high school. He had zero self-confidence. And this student in particular, I mean, he literally looked at me and was like, I hate my life. And I said, why? And so you start talking to them about some of the dynamics and then how that is playing into their educational journey. And long story short, this kid ends up, first time ever, his senior year, makes straight A's, gets into college. And he said that literally we changed his entire outlook on how he saw adults, how he saw people that talked to him. And so, and just would listen. And so for me, one of the approaches that we take when students come in, I don't talk to parents first. I could really care less what you say as a parent. Parents have their own set, their own agenda. They're on their own path. Their path is, I want my kid to be this excellent straight A student. And I have to bring them down level set. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. Life is a marathon. And education is a marathon. I know that because I have had enough of it. A lot of education. And I have learned, especially with adolescents and young children, that really listening to them, inspiring them, is not by way of trying to push them so hard that they stop. It is really about listening to them. And sometimes we are the first people ever that listen to them. And so we empower our students quite a bit. But we work with students that have severe educational deficits, anything from dyslexia to dysgraphia to, like complex math deficits that they didn't even know were a thing. We do a lot of advocacy within the school with around, 504s and IEPs. Also a lot of parent education around what happens when your child also has a co-occurring mental health disorder along with an educational deficit. What does that look like for them going into college, and why it's not a label? It's actually one of the things that we need diagnosed so that we are able to have those children really function on the same level as their peers who don't have these deficits. And a lot of parents learn a lot about their kids in that first 15-minute conversation that I have with their children, because I don't talk to them. And I literally look at the kid and I go, I don't care what your parent says. I really don't care. I want to hear what they have to say later, but I need to hear what you feel is your problem. And so it's one of the things that as an educational service sets us apart from some of the other organizations that are established tutoring centers. Not to mention our teachers are licensed teachers or have been in the educational system for 20 plus years a lot of times. So we have a lot of retired teachers that work for us. We have retired accountants who have their teaching license but just didn't teach in the schools that work for us. We do homeschooling for kids who can't necessarily function in a school setting because of things like anxiety and just different issues that they have. But I mean, when I look back on the last 3.5 years almost, it has been some of the most rewarding work I've ever done.
First of all, you as a female, let me clarify, you as a Black female business owner, educator, veteran, for you to have started a business that, in my opinion, services the community in the most important way with our youth. I mean, kudos to you for that. Like, I can already say, like, the fact that you have found a way to make money and do a positive, good thing. I mean, that's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
And here's the thing too, and that's one of the things about us. It's great that the owner is there all the time because I know every single student that comes in there. That's number one. Number two, families often are, well, I can't go to Sylvan or I can't go to this place because I can't afford it. We go, okay, so what can you afford?
Sure.
And then we can create a payment plan off of that. We do not create barriers to children learning. We have had kids come to us, they are 11 years old, cannot write their name, cannot read, cannot do anything. By the time they leave us, and I am very clear with parents, this is always my motto. This is a marathon, not a sprint. we will do it right. We will not rush it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you say that, parents go, got it. And it is that realization of like someone else is partnering with them, somebody else is working with them. And we have seen children literally go from unable to write their name at 11 years old to being able to write their name and read. Or we've had students where the schools have said, oh, they can't learn. They can't learn at all. And actually that happened just this year. And they put him in a specialized class for behavioral students and just life skills.
Sure.
This year, that kid, not only is he reading almost on level, it is the first time he's ever done that.
It's amazing.
And the school was astonished. It's like, that's what happens with individual tutoring.
So let me ask you this. So you've let's say this, you've accomplished so much and gone through so much through your life, through your business pursuits. Knowing what you know now, would you do it again?
I would do it again. I would do everything in my life again. One of the greatest accomplishments in my life is being a mentor to my children. Actually, in my room right now is a card from my son. And so I often tell parents the story. I said, when my son turned 14 and a half, going on 15, so his year that he started ninth grade, because his birthday's in October, I sat him down and I said, hey, I'm no longer your mom. I'm not mommy anymore. I am now your mentor. My job is to prepare you and help you learn things about life, the same thing that I do for so many of my patients and my clients over the years, whether it's been in the emergency room setting when I worked in emergency room psych, whether it was as a researcher, whether it's in my position now. My job in life is to mentor and make you a better human and to set that example. And so when I look at my journey that I am at now, that to me has been the most promising thing, because my children have seen that. They take strength from that. And I find them motivating themselves, not because I'm doing it, but because they understand what my story is and what my life path has been. And that life has so many different obstacles that you make your own path. And so when I look back, when people say, well, would you do it all over again? Yeah, 100 times over. It has served me well, and it's made me a great mom.
Personal note, you're doing so many things right. I'm just curious. Something I talk about in a lecture class that I led in Cal State is that a lot of women in business that I encounter, I feel, don't get access to mentors or to sponsors in the same way that men do. Do you have a person in your life that you view as a mentor or a sponsor that helped you along this path?
No. I mean, other than my own father, I mean, I grew up with a dad that rehabbed homes and, ran that kind of thing, but otherwise, no. I think one of the things, though, that my parents did right was send me to an all-girls high school, which was great because I learned what it meant to just be competitive and to compete and not care about what men thought about me. And that is really, I think, critical, not only for women, but specifically for Black women. You have to step outside of that paradigm of what someone else constructs for you. And I think so often as women, we fall into these roles. And I told someone once, I said, you know what, sometimes as a mom, I gotta learn to be a little selfish. I just took my 4-day, as you know, my 4-day yearly mom trip. My 4-day yearly mom trip where I do not talk to my family. Yes, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And you have to learn to be a little selfish like that as a woman and respect where you are, because there is so little access for us for other female mentors. We have examples in the world. Like, don't ever get that twisted. There are enough women out there who are running businesses, running their household and making it happen. But Absolutely. As far as accessibility, when I look at the opportunities that Kemper has now versus anything that was ever offered to me, it's night and day. I mean, right now in school, he's in the business academy and he's the president of that club, right? So he has all of these mentors, one of them actually being a female. that was not offered for me.
Sure.
In my generation.
Sure.
And so much of this has just been lighting that pilot, that fire in my belly and making it happen. And then literally driving my dad probably crazy with those 2:00 in the morning conversations of, Daddy, I'm going to file for bankruptcy. My life's going to be horrible. Oh my God. There's nobody there. And then, but coming to 3 steps forward, that was one of those things where I have, close family and friends kind of like you, where I can go, dude, I need to know what I'm doing wrong. And there's still lots of things as a business owner, even now I am learning and I've done wrong, or I've had to go back and change. The whole thing with LLC. This is the first time ever in my life that I have established a separate LLC for all business owners who do not know this, for my real estate versus my company, because I don't want to lose every asset that I have. So those are things that you learn. And
in your business, no, understood. In your business. So if something went wrong with Craniums, then your real estate would be tied to that. So that's smart that you
right.
You
so
separate.
But those are things that unless you have a mentor, you don't learn.
Yeah. Or you learn the hard way, right?
You learn the hard way. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I own this property and the acre of land over here. Oh God. So there are so many learning curves, but I still do feel like there are just not enough women who are really going out of their way to actively mentor other women. They're there, but to actively do it. I feel like those things are free of charge to most men. For women, we oftentimes have to pay for it, or we have to seek it out for such a long time until finally.
There's no question you're right. There's no question you're right. And actually, you should know this. Back in my corporate life, at Siemens, I joined.
I remember that job.
That's right. I joined the Women's Information Network, and I was one of the only men that joined the Women's Information Network because I felt obligated to the female employees that I work with of really kind of understanding my inner she and really understanding there's only so many things I can do. But one of the things I do acknowledge for all female business owners that are out there is that they probably didn't have access to mentors and sponsors. So I appreciate you sharing that. And to those listening, this is one of the number one challenges you will face going on your own path to entrepreneurism. Make sure you reach out and get a mentor or sponsor.
And it's really finding those people. I mean, when I worked at Nova, so the first female ref, right, in the NFL, she actually was one of my fellow colleagues at Novo Nordisk.
Oh, wow.
Actually in Novolog, because that's how I started. And I remember my company being so supportive of that. And they were so supportive of women and how they viewed women. And that was one of those things that also inspired me. So I don't know how to describe this, but that entire 5 years of my life working in that pharmaceutical company, I feel like if I had not been in that role, there are so many things that I would have missed out on. I learned a lot about how to run a business because Novo was so huge on teaching us that. But as far as a personal mentor, my goal is that when a woman says to me, hey, I want to start a business, I'm like, hey, how can I help you? What can I do? How can I be there? And I have most of my friend groups, they're all business owners and they're all females. And for whatever reason, we still do not help each other in the way that we should.
Sure.
I'm guilty of that too. And so I feel like as female entrepreneurs, we really need to do a better job at assisting, mentoring, and helping each other. I do.
Fantastic. So then if there's one recommendation to business owners as a whole, women and men, that you've learned, is there one recommendation that you feel they can do to prepare themselves for entrepreneurism that you learned, like in starting a learning center?
Do not expect to get rich quick. And definitely have backup capital, like your own personal capital. Like, don't just blow through all of your personal capital. I literally pretty much would pay myself and then pay it right back to the company. because I had to keep my company afloat while still showing that I had income from that company. But I was literally like the greatest thing ever was having a 401k. And thank God I had saved so much money and living off of that for nearly almost a full year. I was able to pretty much pay myself, but I still would put some of it back because your overhead and so many other things just don't. So it is really important to start off at least with about $90,000 to $100,000 in some long-term savings. I'm not even going to lie. That was my life saving.
Especially in this post-COVID and COVID world, right? Like, the dynamics are really turbulent now. So I agree with you.
And one of the things that people don't understand is just how banks work. They think that they can just go to a bank. The other thing too is do not go to large banks. I have learned this the hard way.
Yeah, like local community banks.
Yes.
Because they're more small business friendly for sure.
Well, they're not only small business friendly, but they do a lot to educate you about the financial aspects of owning a business. The other thing too, first thing ever, get yourself a CPA before you even open your doors.
Yeah.
Do not do your own taxes.
Look, they're pretty important because they can keep you out of jail, right?
Oh, they keep you away from the IRS. They show you all the refunds that you need. They tell you how you're supposed to take your depreciation. Do not go into this don't even open your doors without having already established. That was the very first thing that I did, was get a CPA. And my CPA just so happens to be a really close friend of mine. And she is a female business supporter. And so she does a lot in education around finance and like how to do your 401k, how to set it up, what you're supposed to do, how to pay yourself first, how to pay your employees, how to pay their taxes. But
so you're saying it takes a village.
It does. I mean, like I learned that, my biweekly taxes that I pay to my employee, that I pay to the IRS, I can pay them on the days when people pay me. So I can like literally go first and 15th. And you can just keep doing that as long as it gets paid by the end of the year. So, I mean, there are so many things. And one of the critical things is make sure that you are the person that signs every single check. You maintain documentation like you would not believe. Don't even throw any check away. Just put in your P&L statements because trust me, those things always come back where you have to be accountable for that on some kind of spreadsheet. So document, but don't ever expect to get rich doing this. You will always be the poorest person probably in the building, and that's okay.
I agree.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, at least for a while. There will be a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You have to believe that.
But the pot of gold is already there. I am doing what I love, and I don't have to answer to someone else. My employees have the utmost respect for me, and we work together as a team. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for my team. I have probably some of the best employees I could have ever asked for. It is like working with a family. Even when they leave, they still come back in the summer. And so we have transient employees as well. So, I mean, and one of the greatest compliments I've gotten was actually from a retired teacher. He said, I worked in the school systems for 35 years. And she said, and I never felt appreciated until I started working here as an educator.
That's awesome.
You do such a great job at acknowledging what we do. So that's great.
So to the listeners out there that either are parents, have a child that have special learning needs, or an instructor that would love to get in touch with you, Tanisha.
We would love to have you come. Oh my God.
Yeah. So how would they get in contact with you? Where can they learn more about Craniums? So
probably number one would be Facebook. I mean, we are huge on Facebook, as you know, of course. We have such a huge voice share on Facebook, so it's awesome. Also Twitter, you can reach out to us through Twitter. You can also reach us at craniumslearningcenter@gmail.com. They're www.craniumslearningcenter.com. You can go out and you can actually check out some of our teachers and what we do and what we offer, because we offer everything from art to SAT, ACT learning, and we service anywhere from pre-K all the way through college. So, I mean, we're pretty comprehensive, and we have some pretty amazing teachers, like PhDs. We have 2 teachers right now that both have their PhDs. We have a retired superintendent. So those are all things that you can check out about us.
Fantastic. So I want to thank you, my friend. Let me just say in closing, you're an inspiration to many, as a veteran, as an educator, as a female Black leader, as a mother, and a single mother at that. You're really beating all odds.
Oh yeah, and just so y'all know, I'm still doing telemed too, which is like really just, it completely throws like this whole wrench in my busy life. I actually had patients this morning, so yeah, I still practice.
That's
so
amazing.
I do a lot of referrals too. So yeah.
No, so my comment to you, Tanisha, you're a wonderful human being. Keep rocking and rolling. Never give in. I still believe there will be monetary pot of gold for somebody that is just driven for all the right reasons. So thank you for this today.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. I mean, it's amazing. And you know, what you guys do for the community, what you do specifically for small business owners, I have to say is incredible. Your team is incredible, incredibly personable. And the amount of mentorship that you provide not only to youth, but I mean, I can speak personally, even with my son. I have watched him grow and flourish under your mentorship, and it was amazing. And so for someone like me, that is it, touche.
He's a special guy. There's no question. He's a special guy.
Yeah, I mean, you've done amazing work, and you do so much for the community, Doug. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate your team, and your wonderful wife, Nikki, who I love.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. So this ends our episode. Definitely, if you want to learn more or download and find out more about Tanisha as well, you can check out Twist of Fate podcast.com. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye, guys.
Twist of Fate is hosted by Doug Younger. It's produced by John Lundvid and Matthew Brown at Ezo Creative. Melanie Filardo schedules our guests. Moni Yu designs our graphics, and Enrique Pimentel manages our digital life. Our theme music is by Jamie Bathgate. Special thanks to all of our patrons. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/Twist of Fate podcast. Thanks for listening.